Hello, everybody. Let me get everything started on the group here. Say hi as you jump on. Tell me what's going on in the comments, whether you're on the live or on the replay. And we'll get started in just a minute. So today we're going to be talking about intermittent fasting. There are so many opinions, right? So many ways to do it. And I feel like people can really feel like it's overwhelming when truly it's not. So my job for you today is simplify the concept of intermittent fasting and make it feel very doable for you so you can start implementing it and using it in your daily life, just like I do for mine. It is a tool I love. I use it often with the women I work with inside my program. And it's very easy to do once you understand what you're doing and to take away some of the fear around it, some of the negativity around it. We're going to talk through all of that stuff today. So jump on, say hi, get ready to learn all about intermittent fasting, and we're going to get started. So let's talk first about what intermittent fasting is, right? So the word fasting really throws people off. So all intermittent fasting is narrowing the window of time you are eating in the course of a day. This is not starvation. This is not calorie restriction. This is not trying to eat the littlest amount of food possible. It's about doing it in a shortened window of time to gain so many health benefits. I'm going to go through all the health benefits. Truly, there's probably more than I can even go through, but why do we do this, right? So a lot of people think of intermittent fasting as a weight loss tool. And yes, it will help you get to a healthy weight if that is your desire. But there are so many other benefits to use intermittent fasting. Personally, I intermittent fast every single day, and I'm not doing it for weight loss. I'm at my ideal weight. I feel good at this weight. I do it for all of the other benefits that I want, and I don't continue to lose more weight. My body stays at a healthy, good weight for me. So it can be used for weight loss. But if you're somebody that's not your desire, that doesn't mean this isn't for you. There's ways to do it, and there's great benefits you're going to get in addition to that. But if you do want some weight loss, getting really good at intermittent fasting is one of the ways that you can kick some serious fat burning power into gear and get some incredible weight loss. I shared just briefly on one of my last videos a story about my sister who her entire life has struggled with her weight. She's always been overweight. She's tried so many different diets. She's tried so many different things. She's an athlete. She works out, but she's always just struggled maintaining a healthy body weight. And there are years that she was well over 200 pounds, like really had a lot of struggle with her weight. And she's 5'2", 5'3", like that's a lot of weight on her frame. And a couple of years ago, I suggested she tried intermittent fasting. And just like I'm going to go through with you guys today, the first week or two she did it, she hated it. She kept messaging me and being like, this doesn't feel right. Like, I don't like this. I'm hungry all the time. I'm craving stuff. Like, I'm so tired by the end of the day. Like, I don't like this at all. And just like I'm going to teach you today, it's like, okay, let's start simple. Let's narrow it in. Let's make these changes. She kept at it. I mean, I think she maybe fell off a time or two, but consistently she would keep coming back to it. And then probably 2 months ago, she messaged me and she said, really with mainly the biggest change she's made is really sticking to intermittent fasting every single day. She has lost half of her body weight and size. So she has lost almost 100 pounds just doing, not just, right? She eats well, she exercises, but the biggest change for her was when she adopted this lifestyle. Her body was finally able to burn fat because she was, for the first time in her entire life, able to switch from a sugar burner to a fat burner. And for her, that was the answer. And I see that all the time with people. That's extra special to me with her because I've watched her battle her whole life. And now she is at a very healthy weight. She feels great. It's just amazing to see what a difference it makes for her having those changes. So I encourage you, if you've tried it before, if you haven't liked it, please give it another try. I'm going to make it simple for you today with the hopes that you'll also see some really cool transformation, not just in your weight, but in your health in general. So let's get to it. Intermittent fasting, narrowing the window of time that you're eating, not starvation, not going without food, not doing really minimal calories, but just choosing a window of time that you are fasting and not feeding your body. So let's talk about why we do this. for example, if you are somebody who's been taught, and in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, the go-to was multiple small meals a day, right? We have to turn our metabolism on. The more you're eating, the more your metabolism is going to work. Well, every time you eat anything, even healthy foods, your body has to release insulin to get the sugars into the cells from the foods that you're eating. And if your body is constantly having to digest and absorb food, if your body is constantly releasing more insulin to have to deal with the food that you just put in your body, it is working hard all day long. If you wake up and start eating, and then you're eating every 2 to 3 hours until pretty much you go to bed, there was not a minute in your day that your body didn't have to break down and absorb food, release insulin, deal with blood sugars. Like, it is busy just doing all of that. And most of the thought process of your body is around blood sugar, is around being a sugar burner, is around releasing insulin, which is why so many women in particular, men also, but so many women are in this insulin resistance. And if you haven't heard about that, we'll talk a little bit more in just a second. But that insulin resistance is probably the main reason you have a hard time losing weight, even if you're eating right and exercising, because your body is a sugar burner. You are addicted to insulin and sugar, whether you feel it or not, which means your body is constantly looking for sugar for fuel and not for fat. Okay. So if you are struggling with weight loss, that right there is probably the number one reason. Your body is all in on sugar burning, and you've never allowed it the opportunity to become a fat burner. So what we need to do is we need to give our bodies extended amounts of time during the day where it is not dealing with insulin, where it's not dealing with blood sugar, where it's not having to actively digest and absorb food. And in those times when your body doesn't have that extra sugar to burn, guess what it's going to look for fuel? Fat. All by itself, it will go find fat to burn because it doesn't have the sugars and the insulins to work off of. And the more often you do that, your brain and your body is going to start to relearn how to burn fat. Most of the women that I work with, their bodies have completely forgotten how to burn fat. You haven't made it burn fat in decades. No wonder it's not doing what you want it to do. But we can retrain it. You can get back there. Now, the biggest premise around intermittent fasting is that insulin and insulin resistance. So insulin and insulin resistance can absolutely lead to diabetes, to blood sugar issues, yes. But even more than that, having this insulin resistance or too much insulin in the bloodstream is also really detrimental for your cognitive health. In fact, it's one of the things that can also lead to Alzheimer's and dementia. They're calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes because they're finding that the plaques that are forming in the brain are also because of insulin resistance and the inability to properly manage glucose. So even if you're not overweight and you just want to have a healthy brain, you want to preserve your cognitive function for the rest of your life, intermittent fasting in some capacity is the way you're going to do that. So regardless of weight, we're trying to correct this insulin resistance, this insulin oversensitivity, and be able to switch back to being a fat burner because our brains are comprised of mainly fat. Our nervous system, our nerves are comprised of mainly fat. We want to keep that nervous system working at 100%. You need to burn fat to be able to do that. So for myself, the biggest benefit, by far, the two biggest benefits I get from intermittent fasting is my mental health and my clarity of thinking is so much better. When I was eating more often, trying to get energy from food, I was always brain foggy. I always felt like slower and everything was harder to do. When I don't do that, when I give my body time to burn fat, my mental clarity is better, my mood is better, and by far my energy is better. When we start dragging, when we have low energy, the first thing we think we need is food, right? Like, oh, I'm tired, I'm going to eat something for energy. Allow your body to figure out how to make its own energy. It knows how to do it, right? We have all the tools. We just never let it get there. We always want to give it something, give it some more food, give it some sugar, give it some coffee, give it something else to boost our energy. Let it find fat for fuel. That right there in a nutshell. Balancing insulin, making sure we have healthy blood sugars, and allowing your body to remember how to burn fat for energy and fuel. Those are the three reasons intermittent fasting is so beneficial for almost everybody. And again, I'm going to teach you how to start it easy, make this really simple, but I believe it's pretty good for almost everybody. Now, here's my list of the people I don't think it's good for. If you have a history of an eating disorder, bulimia, anorexia, any of those things, binge eating, if you are somebody who feels like when you have to be obsessive over your food, it can really put you in a dark place very quickly, I don't suggest going all in on intermittent fasting. And not because it's not great physically for you, but we really don't want to mess with the mental capacity around food and a healthy relationship with food. So you could start just giving yourself a couple of extra hours on either end, but I wouldn't want you focusing in on making sure you're reducing that eating hour if you don't feel like that's mentally healthy for you, right? We never risk mental health if that's hard for you. So if that's you, we'll find a different route for that. If you're already really underweight, again, you wouldn't necessarily want to not do this, but I'll teach you ways to do it more safely. If you have medications and things that you take that might alter when your fasting window will be, and we'll talk more about that, just consult with your provider, whoever's prescribing these prescriptions to you, and ask their opinion on what your window should be. There are certain medications that would make it a little bit harder to be able to do intermittent fasting. Again, not that I feel like you can't do it. Yours might look a little bit different, right? If you take some medications at certain times during the day, you might want to start your window earlier or adjust it around there. Just make sure you're asking if you have any, disease, heart disease. If you're regulating your diabetes with medications, just make sure you're asking your provider before starting any of these tips that I'm going to share with you guys today. And if you have extreme adrenal fatigue and low hormones, I would wait to start the more strict window until you have some more capacity. Most of the women that I work with come to me for adrenal and hormone support, and a lot of them start with really weak adrenals, low progesterone, and doing too strict of a fasting window for those women is not right off the bat. But what we would do is, as we work to get the adrenals and hormones balanced, slowly narrowing your eating window. So eventually you get where you can do this, but you wouldn't want to go all in on like your longest fast right away if you know that you have adrenal insufficiency or really low hormone. So you would just want to be more careful, and you would probably start with step 1 or 2 that I'm about to go over. Don't jump all the way to full fasting if you have any of those situations. And again, any specific questions, ask your doctor, ask your provider, just make sure it's safe for you. But the recommendations I'm going to give, I really believe are safe for most people. We're not doing the crazy version of this, because especially since I work with women's healthcare, primarily that's what I do. I really choose things that I feel like are going to be safe for that demographic. So let's get started. Intermittent fasting, narrowing the window of time that you're eating. There are a lot of different versions of this out there, and I'm going to tell you the one I recommend, because some of them I do believe are too strict, specifically for women because of hormones and adrenals. So the one I recommend is trying to get to about a 16-hour fasting, 8-hour eating window. That's a 16 and 8. It is probably the most popular one out there. It's the one you're going to see the most often because it is generally safe for just about everybody. So that's the one I'm going to give you the most information for. There are other versions. There are ones where you eat 5 days a week and you fast 2 days a week. Fasting on those 2 days a week tend to be really low calorie, 500 calories or less. Sometimes that's okay. There'll be certain people, if we really have to jumpstart their fat burning or I have a specific reason to use that tool, I will use that sometimes. But as a daily general recommendation, that's not the one we're going to talk about today. There are also ones where you fast every other day, or you kind of alternate. You have fasting windows and then you have feeding windows on different days of the week. That's fine too. It's just not the tool that I use primarily. And then there's the most kind of newer one, but the strictest one is called OMAD, which is 1 meal a day. You see a lot of this coming out right now. There's several doctors that this is their preferred way. And not that I don't think there's beautiful benefit to that, but because most women have hormone and adrenal imbalance, right? I rarely see a woman who doesn't. That is probably too strict for most of you out there. And I am adamantly against prolonged fasting for women. So fasting for multiple days at a time, fasting for weeks at a time. There are some programs that do prolonged fasting. Women's hormones and adrenals, unless you have crazy high hormones, potentially we would use a longer fast. But for most women, that is too much for you. It is a stressor on our body. You will tank your hormones. You will tank your adrenals. I am not a big fan of that. I know there's some benefit to it, but because of what I see day in and day out, it is just not a tool that we use. for the women that we work with. So 16 and 8. And if you're really brave, you can maybe narrow it in a little bit more, but let's start with the one that I feel like most of you guys are going to be able to do, and you're going to start incorporating it right now. One of the things I love about intermittent fasting is it's free, right? This costs you no money. It's simple, it's flexible, you can adapt it to your lifestyle. In fact, it's probably going to save you money because you will be cutting out snacks and stuff, so you're not going to be eating as much. So there is no reason for you not to implement these changes. I love giving you guys free things that you can do right away to start improving your health, and this is one of those things. So here's what we're going to do. We are working towards, as a group, getting to 16 hours of fasting with 8 hours of eating. My life, it's usually we start eating at 11 or 12, and we try and like noon, and then we try and end eating by 6 or 7, depending what time we start eating that day. So your window can shift slightly during the day, but you do want to keep it pretty consistent because your body is going to get used to this. Now, if you're somebody who wakes up really early, shift your window down, eat earlier. You can start at 9 and end at 5. That's the same 8 hours. You just chose to start earlier, or vice versa. If you would rather fast till 2 because your family eats dinner late and you'd rather go 2 to 8 or whatever your numbers are, that's fine. But pick a window and try and stay in it and watch how your body responds to that window. You might have to adjust it slightly, but we're aiming for 8-hour window during the day, wherever it fits into your life, that you are going to keep all of your food calories. Following me? Tell me yes in the comments if you're following me. I'll come back and answer any questions you have after. But so far, so good. We're looking for 8-hour window. People always ask, well, what does that mean? What can I have before? What can I have after? Like, am I doing nothing? Am I not eating or drinking anything before then? No, in the window of time before you eat, you want to hydrate. You want to do lots of hydration. You want to make sure you're getting minerals and electrolytes. So putting that Celtic sea salt, right? 2 to 3 grams of Celtic sea salt in your water, using electrolytes that don't have additional sugars or colors or dyes in them, a good healthy electrolyte powder. You can do plain tea. You can do herbal teas. You can do plain coffee. I just wouldn't you shouldn't be putting a bunch of creamer and stuff in it anyways, but plain coffee, plain tea, herbal teas, water, electrolytes, adding that salt to your water. You want to use those non-eating hours to make sure you're well hydrated, right? Really get a lot of hydration first thing in the day, and then starting your eating hours. And then after, you can also do herbal teas before bed. You can do waters. There are also some teas I really like to add that help the fat burning benefit. So in the times that I'm not eating, adding things like dandelion root tea, berberine tea, and green tea will really help your body burn fat even more effectively. So adding those are not only okay, they're actually really beneficial to add in those extra hours. So you're drinking, you're hydrating, you're doing all of those things, you're just not eating food calories. Got it? So you're hydrating, definitely. Coffee and tea are fine, just no food calories. Now, let's go through the 4 steps that you can take to get to a 16 and 8 window. So if right now you're thinking, holy crap, like I eat 3 meals and I snack, there is no way I can go that long without eating. Great, don't start there, but start somewhere. So if you are the person who's eating quite a lot in a day, step 1, stop snacking. That's step 1 for 2 weeks, right? Let's say we take each of these steps 2 to 3 weeks, give your body time to adapt to it. For the next 2 weeks, you're telling yourself, I'm going to eat 3 square meals, no snacking. No snacking after dinner, no snacking before bed, no grabbing things in between meals. I'm cutting out snacking. I'm just going to eat my 3 meals. That alone is a step in the right direction. That's step 1. Step 2, once you've cut out all of the snacking, then you try and drop 1 meal. Most people choose to drop breakfast and they would rather start later in the day. Doesn't have to be that way. That's not the rule of intermittent fasting, but you can drop a meal. So maybe for you, it's you don't do breakfast, you wait longer and you have an earlier lunch, and then you're eating your lunch and your dinner. I would say step 1.5 is you're getting to like 2 meals and maybe you still require 1 small snack. Your snack should always be protein. Okay, or a good healthy fat like an avocado or something like that. But you do not want your snacks to be carbs or sugars, because remember, we want our body to look for fat and protein. We're training it. So the more you can switch over, that anything extra you're adding for food because you're hungry, is a protein or a fat and not a carb, you're still going to be making your body think, oh yeah, I want fat for fuel. So do not allow your snacks to be chips, crackers, cookies, breads, anything that has carbs in it, or you will be giving yourself, your body, the wrong signals. So 2 meals, you're going from all of them. First thing, you're dropping snacking. Second thing, you're going to start going towards 2 meals per day. And then the third step after that is just trying to narrow in when those 2 meals are. And you always kind of have that floating snack. So most of my women, when they're intermittent fasting, it's 2 meals. And some people are hungry enough for the extra snack and some people aren't. You do that based on your body. And one of the biggest things with intermittent fasting is you only eat when you're actually hungry, right? We have to learn again to listen to our bodies. We're just told that like you eat at 8, you eat at noon, you eat at 6, and then like we're eating based on times. We're not eating based on our body cues at all anymore. So there are several days, midday, I'm like, I'm not even hungry. I don't need a snack today. No big deal. If I had a hard workout, if there's a lot going on, if I'm closer to my cycle, around those weeks, I usually do end up having a small protein snack in the middle of the day. But listen to your body. Don't give it more than it needs, but also don't withhold anything that it needs either. We're listening and we're responding appropriately. So the goal is stop snacking, then you start slowly dropping meals, and then you start slowly narrowing your time of those meals together until ideally, for most of my women, we're getting to 2 meals a day in an 8-hour window with a snack if needed and only when needed. So those are going to be the steps that you're going to take. Tell me in the comments, what step are you on? Are you step 1? You're starting from the start. Are you step 2? Do you feel like you could really just jump in and get all the way to step 3 or 4? Where are you at right now? And what are you going to be working on? I want you to be accountable. What is your next step in the right direction? Okay. If you are already at an intermittent fasting window, the next thing to start thinking about is what should I be eating during that time, right? So we don't want, just because we're eating narrower, here's the truth. Even if you keep eating bad stuff, you're probably still going to feel some benefit just narrowing the window. But that's not the goal, right? We want to narrow the window. We want to have our 8 hours, but we also want to fill that eating time with whole foods. You want good, clean, whole foods, primarily protein and fats. Most of you women are not getting nearly enough protein, and that is another major blocker for why you can't lose weight and why you always feel hungry. So making sure that you are getting at least 25 or 30 grams of protein per meal. Most women do their best at about 100 grams of protein. And remember, if you're only having 2 meals, it might take adding more protein or adding a protein snack to make sure you're getting enough. I don't want you to feel starving. You should feel satisfied. I'm never super hungry with the amount of foods that we're eating. I never feel starving because my foods, when I eat them, are so nutrient dense, whole food, chock full of proteins and fats that I stay full for a very long time. I do not feel like I'm hungry pretty much ever during the day because I'm getting the right nutrients. So I have lots. If you go back even just through this group, or you go to the thyroid and hormones group, if you're not in there right now, tons of different meal plans and recipes, all the different challenges we do. They are all high protein, high fat, whole food recommendations. There's tons of options for you to use and try in that window. I just want to stress that your window has to be filled with foods that are fueling your body, that are going to keep you full longer. And protein and fat should be the majority of what you're filling your plate with, and then having vegetables and things with that as well. But it's the proteins and the healthy fats, things like healthy nuts, things like avocados, good lean proteins, wild-caught fish, free-range chicken, grass-fed beefs, pasture-raised pork. Those are all things that should be filling your plate. The best that you have access to those, because that's where you're going to see the most benefit from intermittent fasting. So the end goal is you're eating really clean whole foods in an 8-hour window that fits in your life every single day. I maintain this on vacation. I maintain this on holidays. I continue intermittent fast no matter where we are or what we're doing, because it allows me to stay really steady with my energy, with my cognitive function, with my weight. This is really what keeps my body feeling the best. Other benefits. This is so good for so many things. We talked about how it's the best protector for your brain. It is great to help you maintain a healthy weight. It is amazing at reducing inflammation, mainly because when we're in these fasting states, it stimulates something called autophagy, right? Big word, but you don't need to say it. You just need to know what it is. It's basically how your body cleans itself out. It gets rid of debris, it gets rid of inflammation, it gets rid of abnormal cells, but it really only happens in a fasting window. Now, you'll hear a lot of people say it has to be a prolonged fast. No, start anywhere. The 8-hour window of eating is ideal to get your body to start having enough time to clean itself out, burn fat, balance blood sugars. It's also amazing for digestion if you have constipation or issues like that, giving your gut a rest time to be able to assimilate and absorb before you give it more food. It's wonderful for that. It's great for heart health. It really helps the whole cardiac system. It will improve your lipid panel profile. So if you have cholesterol issues or your HDL and your LDL ratios are off, intermittent fasting is a really great way to start improving your cholesterol. It helps boost your immune system because in times your body is not digesting, remember, we're like heal, function, rest, and digest. Or if you're resting and digesting, you're not actively stimulating and fighting things off. So if you're giving your body a time it's not digesting, it's going to be able to deal with bacteria, viruses, funguses, yeast overgrowth, parasites a whole lot better than if it's constantly digesting food. So intermittent fasting is great for immune system function. It also helps. I talk a lot about epigenetics over genetics, right? We love to blame our genetics. Well, my parents have these autoimmune diseases, or everyone in my family has diabetes, or we're all overweight, or heart disease runs in my family. Those are genetics, but you can change your genetics by activating epigenetics. And your epigenetics are when you turn on productive, more helpful genes and you turn off some of those more detrimental genes. You can turn your genes on and off. Just because you have the gene for that does not mean you have to get the condition. And fasting in this type of a way is highly effective for shutting down the abnormal genes and turning on the more beneficial genes. So if you want to change your DNA, if you want to change the story that's written about your family, intermittent fasting is a great way to do that. So if you have a genetic history, it's wonderful for that. And then we talked a lot already, but really the main thing is we are correcting, avoiding, and making sure we do not have insulin resistance, because insulin resistance is at the root of inflammatory conditions, diabetes, PCOS, androgen issues, Alzheimer's and dementia, autoimmune conditions. I mean, it leads to so many things. Just correcting your relationship with insulin inside your body is going to give you a whole host of beautiful benefits that can be weight loss. But remember, this is not just for weight loss. If you are somebody to be, let's say you're still nervous about it, right? You're like, man, I don't feel good when I eat. A couple of things for that. Again, start slow. You're dropping snacking. You can even narrow your window 30 minutes at a time. Let's say normally you wake up and you eat at 8. Today you're going to 8:30. Tomorrow try 9. You might hang at 9 for a week and then try 9:30 and then try 10. This doesn't have to be done overnight. Don't rush it, but I want you to work towards it and give your body some time to adapt. But I also want you to be consistent. This is daily. This is not 3 days a week and you wonder why it's not working. Your body has to be retrained, right? This is every day. And I want you to give me a committed 30 days before you decide it's for you or it's not for you. 30 days, because your body is not going to switch over to a fat burner in a week. It's not going to switch over to a fat burner in 2 weeks. Give it 30 days. Just like my sister, you might not love the first 2 weeks. Go slow, be consistent, be steady, but I want you to commit to 30 days before you give up. You make a decision that it's not for you, because your body will adapt. This is actually the format of eating our body prefers, right? For hundreds of years, we weren't eating 3 square meals a day and then having snacks before bed. We didn't have access to food like that. Your body knows what to do. This is innately how it's programmed. It needs a whole lot less and it needs time to heal. So commit to it, be consistent. We're doing it every day. And I want you to give 30 days before you give up. I also want you to make sure you're well hydrated. Make sure your plates are full of healthy, whole foods. You're getting lots of nutrients. We don't want nutrient deficiencies. We want lots of beautiful, life-giving food on our plates when we're eating them in that eating time in your 8 hours. And then you can add those additional teas, right? The berberine tea, the dandelion root tea, the green tea to help with extra fat burning. but please give it a try. Tell me in the comments if you're going to try it, if you're already doing it. I really believe this is a tool that when you get good at it, it's going to be something you'll want to do the rest of your life. There is nothing that feels better than when your body is actively burning fat for fuel. You have sustainable energy. You're not having those up and down crashes and your weight stays steady. It's so beautiful. And I see so many women get there by using these tools. So I want you to try it. I want you to tell me in the comments what your next step is, what you're going to start with. And then if you have any additional questions, let me know. But thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you learned something. Please implement this very free, very easy tool because you'll get lots of benefit. And I also just want to end by saying a lot of people have been messaging me and asking about the program that we offer. So I don't talk about it that much. So I'm going to start talking about it a little bit more because I didn't realize people didn't know so much. But I do have a women's health program that we've worked with thousands of women. So if these changes are overwhelming to you, if you don't know where to start, if you're watching the information, but then you fall off track and you don't really implement it yourself, we have an entire program to help you implement. We do individualized testing, you get personalized protocols, you get one-on-one help from me and my entire team. You have meal plans and recipes that can be personalized to you. We have all of the tools and resources that if you want more help, if you're someone who needs the accountability, you want the guidance, you want the individualization, we have created such a beautiful virtual program. We work with women all over the world. We can get you testing anywhere in the world. You can be part of the program from anywhere in the world. And it really just helps give you the plan, the action steps, the accountability, and the team of people. If that's you, you can either leave a comment below on this video, whether you're live or on the replay, or you're always welcome to message me on social media. You can DM me on any of my social media accounts, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And I'll also drop our email, our office email below. Shoot us an email if you have a question or you want help or you want more information on being part of our individualized program. That really is where you're going to see the most results and have the most help. So if you're looking for that level of accountability, I'm going to put all the ways you can reach me in the comments. Please reach out. We would love to help you get on track with that as well. But thank you guys so much for being with me. Go do your intermittent fasting and then check back in and let me know how it goes.